really interesting moves in the crude complex. You could argue it's a perfect storm right now. Not only do you have China jitters, you've got US dollar strength, but only really because of what? The fact that euro interest rate rises are off the table?
Well, I think it is a big basket at the moment, and you are seeing US dollar strength. And the market's starting to play that as a concern that the euro's not going to offer Greece that sort of bailout that they needed. But I do think it's something a little bit deeper than that, because the US is trying to start its engine, and they find it very difficult to do so. Remember that stimulus package is rolling off. So you've got to try and work out what tools do they have left to help stimulate the economy. The easiest and quickest way is to allow that dollar to appreciate, which will then by default see commodity prices lower, and as a result of that, these commodity prices will be able to flow through the economy at more of a profitable rate. So I think that's what we're seeing. It's a hint of it occurring, because that dollar at the moment does look exceptionally strong.
So you're saying what, cash-strapped drivers in particular in the US are going to see some relief at the pump. Are you going to see that translating into lower petrol prices here?
Well, Carsten, that should already occur over there, because remember last night's infantry report, for stockpiles, it continued to climb. Not only did we see the continual climb for crude, we also saw a very large move for gasoline. So really those gasoline prices really should not be at around that $4.70 a gallon. They should be significantly lower. In respect to Australia, we should see that follow-on effect to us, and we should get some relief at the Bowser in terms of the petrol prices we're paying at the moment.
Sorry, Jonathan, can I go back to that idea of the strengthening US dollar? I thought really one of the only things going for the US economy was the weak dollar, because that's helping the multinationals. So why is that part of the recovery? Well, that's the strength of the dollar.
It's interesting, but just look at the strength of that recovery, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. Yeah, the recovery, it's the weak dollar, it's meant to help corporates. Corporates in terms of their earnings, in terms of their exports. But in retrospect, that stimulus isn't exactly working. The governor, the Fed Bernanke, has already turned around and said, hey, we're not as strong. There are signs of light on the horizon, but let's try and make it a little bit stronger. And I think it's more myopic in terms of the approach that the US have over it, considering that we've got around the world other concerns which are completely contrast to what's actually happening in the States.
Well, let's talk about some of those global concerns and back to China, because one view out overnight in the Financial Times is that the current investment boom taking place there is causing and laying the foundations for what we did see happen even in the United States. In this case, though, the idea of overinvestment occurring when you've got that policy on the yuan sitting where it is, China's exchange rate policy encouraging overinvestment, would a stronger greenback take some of that overinvestment out of the equation?
I don't think so, because remember the yuan is trying to appreciate. Remember in April it had its fastest appreciation we've had for some time, where it appreciated by 0.9%. I think when I refer to the stronger US dollar, I'm pretty referring mainly to what's happening in the US, but there are consequences around the world. I think China in itself, they're continuing to put interest rates up. They're changing their monetary policies, and that investment, I think, is a real concern. But realistically, it's been a concern we've had for a very long time. But we are starting to see signs that the moves by the central bank are actually starting to take hold. And I think that's an encouraging thing that we have to take from the recent moves.
Jono, we've almost got to finish up with you, but one final question. When you look at the sell-off in commodities today, and it wasn't just crude oil and the energies, it was copper, that was down significantly. Last week we were worried about whether this was a small correction, taking the froth off, and we'd kind of continue with the upward trend. Today, do we get a sense of, it's just a little bit more of a correction, or is there something deeper here again?
No, I think it's something deeper. Okay. Just quickly, I think that crude oil has further to go on the downside. So I think we're seeing a changing of the guards.
All right, across the whole commodity spectrum as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Copper at its lowest level since last December. People saying the bounce earlier this week was just ephemeral and caution should be the watchword. It sounds like that's pretty much on your radar as well, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Jonathan Barratt there from Commodity Broking Services.